All right, well, thank you, Tricia. I'll start off, of course, as said, this is a session on how to schedule and send reminder emails via really Flow is what I still call it. Power Automate Flow. I've noticed the URL still hasn't changed, so I'll keep calling it that for now. First off, I want to say thank you to the Dynamics 365 community and how great y'all have been in allowing us to sponsor and really the setup. It's been very seamless, to be honest, in comparison to some virtual events that we've attended. A little bit about me. I'm an account manager at MCRM-addons.com. That is our company name. It is a web URL. I've been an account manager here for 3 years. I primarily handle renewals, support, training, and even some professional services in terms of template design. So if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat during the session. And if I can't get to them right away, I'll get to them during the Q&A. So I can handle, hopefully I can handle on the fly use cases or requirements that you may have. But yeah, I'll go ahead and also thank you to RSM and Resco, especially Dion at RSM. Great help in allowing us to present here and notifying us of this event. So a little bit about the agenda. First, we're going to go over our company, kind of a very quick history. I like to keep my slideshows pretty short. The next is going to be Documents Core Pack and overview and some common use cases, which I'd be, like I said, happy to dive into more either during the session or during Q&A. The next will be how we leverage our tool Documents Core Pack with Power Automate, and also the same actions apply because they're API connectors through the Power Platform. You can also apply them in Canvas apps. After that, I'll be doing a demo, and from there, if we have time, I'll actually build out a very similar example to what I show in my demo, just to show how easy it is to build out. And then from there, we'll go into the Q&A. And this is all, hopefully, if we have time. So about us, we were founded over 20 years ago in 1998, primarily doing development. In 2005, we started our first, or offered our first add-ons for what was Microsoft CRM 1.2, which might have been the first usable version of CRM for those using other CRM solutions. Our main office is in Graz, Austria. I think I mentioned that previously before the recording started. All of our development, sales, support, it's all in-house. In the US, we have support and sales mainly, but luckily, apart from the time change, I can always ping a developer if there's a requirement that I'm not familiar with, and that's a great help to me and possibly a slight burden to them. We have 7 total solutions for Dynamics 365. I'm going to stick with Documents Core Pack today, but if you have any needs or requirements, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or a member of our team. We have over 500,000 licenses sold now all over the world, and we are primarily a partner base. So we like to work with partners. We're B2B, and all of our solutions are certified and available on AppSource for trial. That's one thing I'll mention in the beginning is you can download a trial and use it for 2 weeks. If you have requirements or need extension, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to work with you, because our main goal as a company is to make sure that you see the value in our tools, and I think there's quite a bit of value there. We're also a Microsoft Gold partner, but to get to Documents Core Pack. So Documents Core Pack, our main goal as a company was to fill any gaps in functionality or improve functionality in Dynamics if possible, or where possible, I should say. And the main thing that we found is documents. Every company, every vertical uses either templates or automation of document generation. And so this tool is really our flagship, and we release, if you keep up with our webinars, it's about every 2 months or so. You'll see something about Documents Core Pack, whether it's new or something you just didn't realize it was capable of. To give a high-level overview, there's really 2 key components, and that's going to be the template design side, which is actually building a mail merge document, but we call it Documents Core Pack template, and that's handled through Word. We make it much easier than out of the box to create very either pretty or practical templates, and that's inserting data very easily. And I apologize, my headset is dying. I should have charged it between sessions, but here, I'll go ahead and plug this in really quick. Sorry about that. So the template designer is one side, and that's a word add-in. So if you're familiar with the word, it becomes second nature. And if you're familiar with the way that field relationships work within CRM, it's even quicker. So in the way that you create an advanced find, it's as easy as that, and then just double clicking. But I'll give an example. I'll show that at the end of my demo of how you can quickly create those templates. Our template designer also connects to custom entities. It grabs all the metadata from CRM in terms of forms, fields, and relationships, and allows you to easily bring in those fields. So if you add a new field, it'll even tell you update metadata, and it's going to show that new field to be inserted. The next part is the actual processing, or the document generation, and that's a service. Either generally, if you're online, we recommend going with our online service, which is hosted in Azure, and that's handling all the heavy lifting of document generation. And what that allows you to do is generate documents quickly from those templates, but also in terms of how they're sent and how many they're sent, it allows you to do that very well. So if you want to set to, all right, add this template, I want to attach to an email and send in a single click, you can do that. Same thing with really any activity type. We integrate with e-signature providers. Our three are DocuSign, AssureSign, and Adobe Sign, all with very similar functionality through our tool, although there is some passback, and you can also pass back data. So we essentially we do the heavy lifting of generating the template and then send it through their services. But it's an integration that we set up to make it quite seamless. We also integrate with SharePoint, so you can set to save documents directly to SharePoint. You can print, attach as note, generate multi-part documents, which is a very cool feature for proposals or contracts. So you don't have to select a single template. You can select multiple templates and concatenate them into one and send them as an email, PDF, docx, no HTML, text. We're non-vertical. It's a non-vertical solution, so we see it applied in many different use cases. Printing is interesting, but I'll get into that because you can do it via Dynamics or via Flow through our actions. What I'll do is I'll go ahead the next slide and get into what I'm here to talk about today, which is the custom connectors, which are now available in Flow or Power Automate to the Documents Core Pack service. So essentially what you can do is insert it in an existing flow, and all you need is, as long as you have a service running, you can we have a great blog article, you just grab the API key from your Documents Core Pack service, put it into the custom connector, and you have several options. An example of those options are get templates. So if you want to define what template within the flow, instead of having it static, you can make it dynamic. So you can bring in the template, create the document, save to SharePoint, print, which is great because you can also run batch processes on printing and generating. So if you have quite a few, even if you're doing, say, targeted marketing, you can send bulk based on this. We have different processes for whether you want it to be a sync or async process. So if you don't want to wait to the step, you just want it to run as quickly as possible, you can run it async. But if you want to not include, which I'll show, like a wait condition or a condition to check the status, you can go ahead and send that. But what we make is we make it very easy to add these steps to Flow. So if you have an existing flow and you're already generating the email, but you want a more complex or really a nicer email message, or you want to build out templates for the email message, you can really easily insert those. I'll go ahead and just take a quick look at the questions. Yeah, so it's possible to create the first one is from Michelle Clements. With Documents Core Pack, are the PDFs that are created and attached to email activities also automatically saved to SharePoint? Yes, so that's just, as long as you have SharePoint integrated to Dynamics, you can set that up really quick. It's just a checkbox or selecting yes on the flow record, so it'll automatically save to SharePoint as soon as it's generated. Is it possible to create Documents Core Pack with multiple documents in it? It is. Depending on how you want to do it, if you're creating a single document, or if you're creating, the main thing with if it's separate documents, you'd want to run it through Flow, just so you can define at what point, at what or what templates are being generated as documents, and then how they're being attached, whether it's email content or as separate attachments. So you can set multiple attached to email steps and generate that as through a single process. So you can set it to create a single document or multiple. So it's just depending on how you have those steps set up. So we have the concatenate function of single versus if you were to just set separate steps with separate templates, you could have it attach as multiple documents. All right, and now I'll get into the demo. What I'll do is I'll run through the in process very quickly, and then I'll walk through the actual steps to get there. And I'll start out with our base out-of-box functionality, which is what we call one-click actions. So if I could go ahead and go to our Dynamics instance in the new UI, I'll just go to invoices, and this would be sending an initial invoice. This could also be automated, so if you wanted to set, as soon as the invoice is set to active and saved, the same process can be kicked off, either workflow or flow. So I'll just go to, let's see here, I'll say cloud-based D365 add-ons. And what you'll see here is our button, which is create document. So as soon as I hit create document, you'll see there's a one-click action where I've defined or let me decide every step. In this case, I'll use create and send invoices PDF. So as soon as I click that, it's going to run through defined options that I've set. So you have to select an email template, and it should automatically select it. If I defined, always use that as default. You have the option to preview the document or hit finish. I have this set to go ahead and send an email automatically as soon as I hit finish. You can even skip this step. But let me see. So this is going to be the preview of the invoice that it's generated through our service, and it's also sending the email through CRM, through that email connector. So as soon as I hit finish, should now be creating and sending the email. If I refresh this page really quick, you can see it shows you the email with attached. So what this has done is you've defined the template that it's going to attach, which is going to be the invoice, and you're defining the from and to, which you can set dynamically, and then you're adding the email content, which will also fill in the subject. So this is a template through our service, and this is also a template. If I check my email now, I should have received an email from John Snow. If you look there, it's that same email. So all of these records are going to be set to go to my personal or my work email, just so that I can show that they're received. So as you can see, it sends it seamlessly, and you'll even see the CRM tag. So that's sending through CRM. If I open that up just to give you a preview of what that looks like.
Happen. Okay, he's gone again. Good.
Just keeping me on my feet.
Got it.
So this is just a very simple invoice template, actually. So there's so much more you can bring in, but I just wanted to show how easily this can bring in data and how easy it is to build a template like this. So all I'm bringing in is the account name of the customer name, their address, invoice number, and then bringing in the products of the invoice. And you can set this up. So this is a dynamic table, so it'll expand as many rows as there are products, and also you can set sorting, filtering, but I'll get more into that when I actually show building out a template. Just one thing to note, you can also add images, calculated fields, conditions. There's quite a bit. So if you have a use case, please don't hesitate to reach out about it or even post it in this chat. I'd be happy to walk through it if there's time. So now into the main part, which is the flow. So if I open up my flows, so that action that I just showed where it's generating, you can recreate that to be automated. What I've done is it's a personal use case to me, which is something I actually have to do as handling renewals, which is following up on invoice payments if they're a day or more overdue. So I created this as a solution in our demo environment, and let me see if this will go ahead and open up. Yep, and it's going to be under invoice automated follow-ups. So as you can see, I've set, there's a flow for each, and these could also be combined into one. What I'll show first is the initial overdue invoice notification flow. Oh, whoops, not sure. Go to edits. And so what you have first, this is, the trigger is recurrence. So what I've set it as is it runs at 12 p.m. every day, and that's going to be UTC. I didn't set the time zone, possibly out of laziness, but I also just wanted to, I wasn't sure what our demo environment time zone was set to. It appears to be Eastern Standard, but that's easily changed. So the first thing I'm doing is deciding this is going to be, this flow is going to run every day at 12 p.m. The next step is the format. So what it's doing is it's taking today's date and putting it as a usable format, but also subtracting one date from today. So it's saying if the invoice was due yesterday, it will bring in that date as today. And so the real filtering piece of it is it's looking at, I actually used fetch. You can also use an OData query. So you can set, is the invoice date due today? You can set that through OData as well. I just used fetch to stay in the dynamics realm. But what we're looking at really there's two conditions. One is the state code, and that's going to be the invoice is active. So it's looking for active invoices where the due date is today's date minus 1 day. So if the due date was yesterday, this flow would pick it up and kick off the next steps. So this is doing a list records to invoices of invoices due yesterday. So it's not sending it on the day it's due, it's sending it 1 day after.
Can you just pause 1 second? I'm just going to kick some people out before they start making a ruckus.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's one more person. Sorry, 1 sec. Okay, you're good to go. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, so where we make this simple is, so of course you need an apply to each step.
There you are.
All right.
There. Bailey, can you hear?
Yeah, yep, I can hear. Yeah, so where I left off, so since you're listing all the invoice records, so it's basically retrieving all invoice records where the due date is yesterday. So next we have an apply to each action, and it's looking at all of the invoice records. And so what it's going to do is run through each synchronously. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm creating that PDF invoice. This is our custom connector here, or custom action, and this is going to be create document synchronously. So the first thing I'm doing is defining the invoice template, of course running against the GUID of the invoice that it's listed against, and then next I'm just generating the email content. Same thing, defining the template, invoice ID. So these, we really minimize these steps so there's not much input that's needed. Really the only requirements are these top three. The next, I'm using a send email through Outlook instead of using the CDS create record, but it can also be used create record, either current environment or just the common data service connector. What I'm doing here is I'm adding the name, saying the two. So I've defined it statically here, but it can be set dynamically. I just did that for demo purposes. The next is, this is actually going to be the email body. This is the only piece that takes a little bit more input, which is just using a base 64 to binary conversion. It's a really simple function. If you just type in base 64 and then select the document base 64 encoded. The reason that is Dynamic stores everything base 64 in terms of attachments. And then for the attachments, I'm just attaching the previous created invoice document. And since I'm running this synchronously, I don't have to create a wait condition or any status condition. So just to show you what this looks like, I'll go ahead and test it, and I'll perform the trigger action because this is supposed to run a couple hours ago. And it's only found one, so that's one thing I find very cool about the apply to each, is that looking at a list, you can actually run through each record to see if there's a failure on one record, and you can also have responses set to if there was a failure. So what we see here is it's created the invoice, created the email, and sent the email. So if I check my email now and refresh it really quick, should be, yep, hello Dwight. As you can see, the Jon Snow, and we use many TV references in our demo environment. So it's just checking in on the invoice. It's pulling in the email content, of course, the invoice name, the invoice amount, and invoice number. And same thing, it's pulling in the template and generating the document. You can also use our tool or our actions to apply an already created document or attachment. It doesn't even have to be a Documents Core Pack document. If it's a PDF or docx, we can attach it. If you're worried about limitations of what types of documents or file types that you can attach, reach out to us. We'd be happy to take a look at your requirements and see what's possible, because there are certain already built steps within Flow where you can convert or set it to the right file type to attach. So if you have an invoice that's already stored somewhere within that entity or within that record, you should be able to pull that in as well, as long as you have a unique identifier. What you'll notice is, if I go back to the screen, I created 3 flows here. Well, really 4, but 3 flows for this process, which is it's an overdue notification the day it becomes overdue, 30 days after overdue, and 60 days overdue. The only change I've put in to create the logic, so I'll answer the question really quick. Other than the functionality needed to create the content/layout of the PDF, is there any other functionality of Documents Core Pack needed to create the logic of the reminder email? So you could set that up if you already had an invoice generated. The main thing is sending. So if you're not using the Outlook connector, it cannot. We can, which I'll show in this flow right here, which is if you're wanting to send out of CRM, that's where our actions become heavy lifting in terms of creating the email, or if you use like create record for the email, you create the email content, add the email content, create invoice, but we also have the send step, which is where you can define the to and from dynamically. But yeah, you could set that up to send a document through the Outlook connector automatically. If you had a file saved, you would just need to make sure that the file type that it's set to binary, not base 64. To show how easy this can be built, I'll now go into, or I'll actually just for fun, I'll run the 60-day reminder because it should be a different invoice than what we've seen. Let me go ahead and pull up the invoice. So I'll just go ahead and run this really quick. And it's the same steps to show you everything's the same. The only difference, besides the names of the steps, just to be applicable, is the template for the email content. It's still pulling the same invoice template, of course, but for the email content, it's just changing the days. And you can set there's so many ways you can set up what's being brought in, whether you want it to be a different template or the same template with conditional logic. You could really apply it to be a single flow with single template and just conditional logic within the flow and template. But the real difference here is it's just looking at today's date minus 60 days. So if your invoice was due 60 days ago, you would then get a notice. So to test this really quick, should run flow. And what this is doing is it's using that API to our service to send the document generation request to our service. But there's multiple other actions that you can use to either print documents automatically. You can set up a local print service or a cloud-based print service, all through our actions. And I'll give a quick walkthrough of those as well. And any that I don't know the definition of, if you have any questions of, I can always reach out to my team, either support or sales. So I should have just now received this second overdue. So this invoice is now 60 days overdue. So what we should see is, yep, so hello, Michael Scott, and it's bringing in the same thing, just different products attached to that invoice. All right. And now I'll go into building this process. So to give you, or actually I'll show the available flow actions currently through Documents Core Pack. So let me go ahead and just add action. And I showed a screenshot of this in my PowerPoint, but there's been more added since that image was created. So I'll just do Documents Core Pack. And these are available to all, but to generate documents and of course leverage this functionality, you do need a subscription license. That way, so it's pointing to your service. So we have the ability to attach document as notes, attach to email, attach file as notes. So if you're not even using, you can set this up easily so you don't have to worry about creating a note record and setting the regarding. You can just attach it to a note to the related record. And you can see available DCP actions. You can check the API available. So if you want to make sure the status of the API and service is valid, you can check that just in terms of maintenance of the flow. Concatenate, that's the multi-part, concatenate, multiple files. You can run it async as mentioned or synchronously. XML, that's, I won't get into that, but basically it's a way to really make a more complex documents generation process through XML. Such as concatenate file types. You can really set those up. You can get the file types of Documents Core Packs to go ahead, and all of these are so you can basically conditionally or dynamically set up the file to be generated. Get DCP printer, you can check the print status and then send a printer. Get templates, check service status again, and of course, who am I that's running the Documents Core Pack service. Or that's the current user logged in. Yeah, to go over, and it's 3:56, so I've got, what is that? 4:30 to 34 minutes. Sorry, that was some slow math. Yeah, so what I'll do right now is I'll just show how easy it is to build out a template and build out the process that I just showed from one-click action to the flow. So what I'll do here is open up Word just as you would standardly, and you'll see that it's loading, or that it would have loaded the Documents Core Pack template designer. So it just adds a tab to Word. To start, insert mail merge fields. Insert mail merge fields, and then I'll go ahead and I won't update my metadata because no relevant fields have changed. And what you have to do is first define your entity type that you're going to run this template against. To show invoice, I'll just look up invoice, select that, and what you'll see is all available fields. So I'll start this with invoice number, and this is not going to be the prettiest template, but I'll just show how easy it is to create these. So invoice number, and we're going to go to invoice ID, because that's invoice name or invoice number. And then we'll do created on date, You can also search through these fields as well. So if I were to go to and then I'll just bring in a table. So one nice thing is you can either define the relationship. So if I were to go through here, this is how you add fields from other entities if they're not a lookup. So if they are a lookup, you'll see them at the bottom of the available fields. So these are all going to be lookup fields on the form or on that entity. So you have all of their fields available. But if you wanted to add a relationship that's not a lookup, so something like the product, you can add it here in our relationship designer, and we make it very easy to go from relationship to relationship, and there's no real limit on the amount of relationships deep you can go. I always recommend reaching out if you're going beyond 10, because generally there's a bit of a data issue there, and there might be a quicker way to access the fields and data that you'd like to. So of course you can go to invoice product, but instead of going and designing this relationship myself, invoice product details are actually a global relationship that we include automatically with the template designer. So you go to invoice products, and you can also set custom global. So if you know, or custom global relationships within the template designer. So if you know a relationship is going to be used several times or in multiple templates and you want to make it quick, you can save it as a global relationship. So as soon as I do that, we can actually take a look at what I'm looking at. So we're showing all fields, but I'll deselect all fields, and I just want to see the amount. Let's see here, the amount, the product name, the quantity, and we'll even add description. One nice feature versus out of the box is also the ability to add filters. So this is all based on fetch XML. So you can see standard. If you're not familiar with that, it's really easy to add filters. So if I wanted to add a limit of the amount shown or don't show certain products, you can add that. We can also group by product type. You can group by any available field within the tables. You can add sorting. So that's one issue that comes up pretty common, is people want to be able to sort the data shown in the tables. You can also insert this data. You can also aggregate it so as to do a count versus display the data. So if you wanted to see how many products there were versus those products, you can set a count field. And then from there, you can use that data set counts to create dynamic charts. There's really some heavy reporting capability there as well within a Word template versus out of the box. So I've selected amount, description, product name, quantity, and so I'll just use those fields for now. And also you can see that this is not only going to the product, this is also going to the product invoice details, and I'll leave that alone for now. And so as soon as I've said OK, it's showing me the fields that I selected that are now available to insert in the template. So to insert these, if I just wanted to start with quantity, you can insert it as a table, which will be a dynamic table, insert as a list, and you can set this up separated by any symbol or number or text. The insert first field is something cool you can do with sorting. So if you only wanted to show a single result, so say you had a hierarchy built for accounting company, you could say, all right, sort the accounting company and then only show the first one. So that would allow you to leverage hierarchies within the template. But in this case, I'm going to create a table and create a table with a header, split the header for each column, and I'm going to put in 4 columns. So we have is the quantity, and I'll go ahead and put in the product name, do the description, which I know is going to be a larger field for our products, so it might not merge the prettiest, and then the amount. And just like any other table, you can insert just static text here. So I'll just do quantity, products, description, and price. And from there, you can also edit just as Word to change. Previously, it was limited to 1. I'm not aware of the current limitation. So I know that there are ways to build out the fetch. But I'll set that as a note to reach out. And if you want to send me a quick email, I'll give you my email in the chat as well, just to follow up on that. So within the template, you have all the word formatting capabilities, of course. So if I wanted to make this bold or change the font, same thing with the table. So if I wanted to go to table design and switch this to a default table design or custom, we can set that up. So one very nice feature is not only, I think where we stand out is not only the functionality you can add to a template, it's also maintenance of those templates. So one thing is if you were to lose a field that was on the template, it's not like you have to rebuild the template. It'll actually, as soon as you merge it, it will tell you the missing attribute or field. So if I were to go here and save template, and we also have great ability to test templates within. So, and another feature, I know I keep on seeing more stuff I want to talk about. It's a habit of mine with this product. So you'll see there's two groups. So essentially they're folders of templates, and you can set these up conditionally to select. So if you wanted to give the end user a choice of templates, you could set them up with a template group and say, okay, you can only choose from these templates. So in this case, I'll create a new template group. I'll call it D365 Saturday. And hit OK. And then I'll save this as demo template. Demo invoice. So when this is saving, it's not saving locally, although you can save the templates locally. It's saving back to CRM so the process knows, so that when it sends a request to our service, it can pick it up from CRM. So all these templates are now saved, or this template is now saved in CRM, but I can also test it locally. So instead of going in CRM and running the template or going through Flow and running the template, I can just test it here and say, all right, look through a list of invoices. You can use save views. In this case, I'll do all add-ons and just see what this looks like as a test. And this should give you a good idea of what the end template's going to look like. Yeah, so you can see it brought in all the products. One thing we can add is some cool functionality that's shown in the invoice template that I showed through the flow. So say I wanted to add a total amount, you can either use a calculated field through us to combine the to sum the base amount column, or what you can do, since invoice has its own total amount and breakdown of discounts and tax, you can just add a separate table. So if I wanted to do, I'll do just for concurrency, I will add a table with 4 columns, and I'll say total, and I will line that up to the side, and I'll go back to the standard available fields on the invoice entity, and I'll go to total amount. And then one cool feature, instead of having to have 2 separate tables sitting there, you can actually use a join table. So you can generate tables and kind of merge them together. So if I were to add a static item, join tables, and now when I resave this template, it should merge with the total, and it should appear to be a single table. And there's some very cool formatting things you can do with our static options, such as page break, insert a static document. So if you have a template that you want to insert inside its kind of template inception, you can actually bring in templates in other templates as text or as a separate document within that template. So if you wanted to add it as a separate page, you can insert it that way. But so to choose data, I'll just go same thing, all products. As you can see, it's now looking at a single table, and it's bringing over that formatting as well. Another great feature is our ability to format the fields. So you notice that had multiple, it was a decimal place and then multiple zeros. What we can do is I'll set it with no decimal places, so the format is 0. You can also set custom format if you know the syntax. You can set a culture, so if you wanted, like for dates, if you wanted it to say October, even though your system language is English, if you wanted to put October in the German October with a K, you could set the culture to German. So what I'll do is quantity, it's now going to be single or no decimal places, and then the base amount, I want to make sure that that's formatted properly as the $sign and then 2 decimal places. So we can go here, and I could also set that to English US currency. Now if I save that to demo invoice, and once again, we can test it through choose data. It's possibly my favorite part of the tool for template maintenance and building. Is you don't have to go in CRM or run a process. You can just stay in Word to test these out. So I'll go ahead and hit select and generate that against the chosen test record. So as you can see, it's now removed the decimal places, and these have zeros, but I didn't apply it to the total amount field. And one last thing I'll show is there's so much that you can do within our templates in terms of custom actions, whether it's add a signature field for DocuSign, AssureSign, or Adobe Sign. It's as simple as just clicking that, and then you can define whether it's signee 1, signee 2 through their process. Once it's sent through their process, to inserting static items, to bring in images. So if you have an image field stored as a note, the new picture field functionality, if it's the entity image, so something like a contact, if you wanted to bring that in, you can bring that in dynamically into the template. Same thing for products. So if you have product images on our quote templates, we show the product image related to that. And you can also bring in images from URLs. So if you have a public URL where you're storing these, such as a public Dropbox link, you can bring those into templates. And then also create dynamic links. So internally, we use our own tools very heavily internally. So if you ever receive a quote from us and it has a payment link, it's generating that dynamically through our tool. So you can say as HTML, and you can also create a hyperlink. So you can use static text plus a field if you wanted to define that. But what I'll show really quick is a conditional item. So how you can design a condition to show. So I'll just say is total amount greater than 3K. All right, and I'm going to say if met, and then I'm also going to create an else block, and they're going to be next to each other. So I'll just do, let's see here. We'll do total amount greater than or equal to 3,000. Just leave that as standard. Hopefully that's the correct format. So I'll say, yes, this is if it's met. So you can type in static text or bring in other fields or another conditional field. You can actually nest these, so you can have quite complex logic, or you can leave this templates as simple as you need. So something like opportunity follow-up or automated support response when a case is created. All of these can be created very easily through Flow, just if email received. And I know easy can be stretched as well, so I know it's not always easy to build out scenarios. But I think using our tool makes it quite a bit easier. So I'll just say invoice is greater than 3K. Invoice is not greater 3K. And I can make that red, so I'll just make this text red so we know if the condition is not met and if it is met. And then if you can also set it up so it doesn't have to have an else block, so if you just want to hide the data there. So what I'll do is I'll save this template very quickly and test it one more time, and then I'll build out a quick one-click action with this, which is what I showed initially when generating the template through our out-of-box functionality. So the first thing I'll generate against is this test invoice because it's less than 3K. So I'll go ahead and select. So it already knows invoice is not greater than 3K. This is a very simple condition, but what you can do with these is nest them, put in some pretty great logic. It works very well if you have terms and conditions that need to be included, or specific terms and conditions, whether it's French or English for someone in Montreal, or it's just specific scenarios require terms versus others. But yeah, I'll go ahead and show building out a one-click action with this template. So I'll hit cancel, I'll leave it open. If I go into Dynamics and I go to Settings, we'll see Advanced Settings. And I do love that it goes back to the standard old classic UI settings page, because I'm still more comfortable, I think, with the classic, but getting very warmed up to the unified interface. So I'll go to one-click actions here. So these are your documents core pack settings. I'll stay away from the rest. But how to create a one-click action. So we'll go to select your entity, and you can select it from available and just check it. So it's now from the active list, and I'll edit. So you saw the button I used initially. I'll just say new single, and I'll do create demo instance. Or demo invoice. Save that, and then you can set a description or set it as the default, so it always runs as that. You can allow user selection for the template, predefine the template, or use multipart. You can also use conditional selection of the template. So you can either have the condition inside the template or use separate templates conditionally through the record. So if it sees it says the owner is part of this business unit, you can set it up to only show them specific templates. So there's really a lot of configuration there in terms of what you want your end users to see from an admin perspective. So in this case, I'm going to predefine a single template, and I will just do invoice, select through, or what did I save this template as? Demo invoice, add. Let's go ahead and save that, and then in the next step, so this is where you're defining how the template is being generated. So I'm going to say it's saving as a PDF. We are attaching the document somewhere instead of just generating it. And we'll say email attachment. You can open your local email client if your users are more comfortable with using Outlook. So it'll open as an email in Outlook. We can define this email sender statically or dynamically through current user. Recipients we can set from the available recipients on the record. And I will go ahead and say customer. And then we can define the email template, and I'll just use one of my pre-built email templates. And I'll say email body main. And then so what we can see here is send emails, run work. You can also kick off a workflow from this, although we're sticking with flow for this demo, but you can kick off a process with the one-click actions. You can also set it to print. So if I go ahead and save this, so you'll see I have all the options I'd like to have set, and now I'm going to hide them from the end user, so they should not see these. And then you have the final step. So once it's completed, you can either uncheck these and you won't need to see this step. But in this case, I'm going to allow document edit, create PNG preview, and review your document. Now that that's created, if I go back to my environment really quick, and we go to an invoice, we should now see that button available that I just created. And so instead of a user having to select their template and select what it's doing, it's all just a single click. So if I were to go here and say create document, create demo invoice, select the email template. Not sure why that popped up. I can check into that. So now it's creating the document, sending it through the service, but first it gives me a chance to take a look at the invoice. One thing I just realized is that I didn't set a dynamic invoice name or static. So if I were to click this and preview it, you can see this invoice is greater than 3K. It's bringing in the data, but as soon as I hit finish, it should now send the email. Oh, unless I didn't set to send it. So I didn't check the box for actually send email, but as you can see, it's filled in the invoice or the email content, attached the invoice, set the to and from and the subject. So you can really set this up to be as manual and as much user control as you'd like, or as little. and then also as automated as you'd like. So if you want this to, no user interaction, you can set it up all through Flow and Power Automate. If you want them to be able to select from a list of available templates and to be able to edit those templates temporarily. So the edits template step allows them to just edit essentially a single one of those, a single piece of that template, and then the actual template itself won't be changed. It's just for this one instance of that document being generated. So if I were to send this, I should then receive that same email. And I don't have the access to this. Maybe it is sent. I just clicked it too soon. Yeah, so this should have already sent. So I did actually select that step. I just loaded it too quickly. So as you can see, I received it. It's very easy to build out these processes. Same thing with Flow. So everything I just showed through that one-click action can be recreated in Flow plus more. It's possibly my favorite new thing, although certain things are more difficult than workflow in terms of standard functionality. Just small things like record URL, but every time I've built something in Flow, I've realized there's a faster way to do something, and it's becoming easier and easier. But yeah. So that's really it. Are there any questions that I can answer via chat, or if we want to unmic or unmute?
I'll ask the questions. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a question about how many layers deep you could go with the out of the box functionality of creating Word templates. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you.
So I'll need to confirm that. I know it was previously limited to 1 and possibly 2, but I'll have to take a look at what the current mail merge limitations are. Ours has no limit, but I will follow up. If you want to send me an email to that email address, I will follow up via email just to confirm.
Okay. Grand. And I think you asked, you already answered the question before that, which was other than the functionality needed to create the content or the layout of the PDF, was there any other functionality of Documents Core Pack needed to create the logic of the reminder email, or is it all out of the box Power Automate?
Yeah, so not if you're using the Outlook connector, but if you're using the CDS create record connector to send that email, there might be a workaround to send the email record or to set it to sending status, but I haven't tested that yet. But in this case, to send the email, if you're using the CDS record, you would need our action there just to basically kick off the send and define the, because one issue, if you're not using current environment CDS, is you can't set the to and from, because you also need to have the party type or the activity party type set, which is something I found out when I first started with Flow and was trying to send emails.
Okay. If anyone else has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat window, and I'll ask Billy. Okay. Billy, I think that's it. I mean, I think that was really good. I'm really sorry about the interruption in the middle.
No worries at all.
So you won't be there in the final video. But I did learn a lot because I use Documents Core Pack as well, which is why I was asking that, because we did have something come up in a recent project and we had put forward Documents Core Pack, but it was only generating one document. And then I realized, oh, wait, we need it to be joined up. So I'm now going to go back and have a look at this in terms of what you just showed to see how we can actually fully accomplish what we needed to. So that was definitely useful for me, and I'm sure for everyone else as well. So really thank you for that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. One thing I'd like to mention is our whole team is really, we work off of requirements because the solution is so robust. There's not many things that I've seen requirement wise that it can't do. So if there are any things that you think are not possible, always reach out to us, because what we found is it's either an old or very new feature, just because it's been built out since 2005 as auto merge, as it was initially called. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I think every part of our team is happy to do. It's possibly the most fun part of my job, is to build out examples.
Yeah. Okay, well, now I know. And now we have connected, and everyone else is connected with you, and your email address is there. So I definitely will, and hopefully everyone else will too.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So just to remind, it is possible to watch the recording. The recording will be available on YouTube right after we've edited all the interruptions out. And one second, I'm now going to just post the survey. So if you complete the survey, don't forget you are in with the chance to win a $50 gift voucher at the end of the session. So at the end of the whole session, but you do need to be there. Just one second, I'm just getting it now. And then what I'll do is I will give Eric, who is our next speaker, presentation rights. So
All
he
right.
can then present. Bailey, thank you so much.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
thank you all, and thank you for helping set this up and moderating and having to deal with the new or new teams issues with presenting. I guess they wouldn't be considered issues, but the learning curve, because this is all new to me and I think a lot of others. But thank you so much for having me. As always, if you have any questions, and this is to everyone, don't hesitate to reach out.
thank you, Bailey.
All right, thank you all. Bye.
Okay, so next we have Eric Sauvé, who will be talking to us about AI Builder, which is one of my favorite features within the Power Platform. Of course, I do have many favorites to be fair, but that is one of them. I'm going to make sure that Eric is unmuted because I think I kind of banned people from unmuting themselves. Eric, you can.
I'm able to unmute myself.
Grant. Just to let you know, we have been having a bit of team bombing. I am on constant watch out. If that does happen, I will just I will stop you, kick them out, and then we can continue just so we can get a decent recording. And also some housekeeping rules. I have muted the audience, so you will not be able to unmute yourselves. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in your chat window or in the chat window. And Eric, I'll be happy to read it out at the end. Or if you want me to interrupt you during and ask the question, just let me know.
Oh, as we go along, I'm good with that.
As we go along? Okay, great. So I'll wait and then I'll basically just ask you as we go. So if you've got any questions, put it in the chat window and I will ask as we go. As I mentioned, we are, providing a $50 gift voucher for anyone with the most social media posts using the correct hashtag D365 Wave 2 Saturday. So during Eric's session, please feel free to post all about how amazing his session is, because I know it will be. And also at the end, please submit your feedback forms. We are going to give you an additional, I think it's an additional 5 to 10 minutes after the session to complete it before we then post out the prizes. So yeah, Eric, I'm now going to hand over to you.
Do you want to wait 4 minutes until the bottom of the hour, or
Yeah, we could wait for 4
taking
minutes.
it off right now? It's as you want.
That works for me.
Just,
so more people can.
Since it says it's at the bottom of the hour, right?
At the bottom of the hour.
At the bottom
9,
of the hour.
I don't want to call out the time because it's
9:30. No, that's why I said the bottom of the hour.
It's like it's so hard to work out the timings.
Yeah, but like in the meanwhile, if anybody's logged in here and wanted to attend like the field service or the dynamics session, you need to leave this place and move to Igor's session on the D365 track, or the star Lucas Diaz himself on the service track. What a lineup to end this session this day.
I know, right?
It was a really great schedule, really great set of people. I mean, it's kind of sad. I was attending EY's session. I had to leave to come, deliver mine here.
How was the session? Was the session good?
Oh yeah. It's EY, It's all good. So under like 2-3 minutes, and we're good. Hi, Joe. Joe Griffin, who jumped on board with me to do a session next week. Because next week there's another like 365 Saturday on CDS, Common Data Service, and he posted a blog post on the exact subject I'm delivering about environment variables, and he just said, I reached out to him. You want to co-present with me? And he just said, yeah, why not? It's going to be fun.
Who, Joe is going to co-present with you, or?
Yeah, he's going to co-present with me.
Joe is going to co-present with you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
This guy is amazing. He's a star also.
Isn't he? And he's going to also be a part of the Power Platform School for next year as well. Oh. Yeah, he's gonna do Power BI in a day for me. He doesn't know, but just found out.
He just learned.
Yeah.
He just found out. Sure, why not? Yeah.
Right. Grand.
Good stuff. 2 more minutes and we're hitting the show.
Oh, by the way, Eric, did you know that Joe's an MVP?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Of course. Like, come on.
He got made an MVP. Yeah, Joe's an MVP.
Yo.
Congrats, Joe. I'm actually going to make sure that that's left into the recording for prosperity.
Did you actually start the recording? No, you didn't. Did you?
Yeah, we are recording right now, and I'm going to leave it in the recording that Joe's an MVP.
He's not. You say you know.
Yeah, he got
made an MVP
like a couple of months ago.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Come on, man. Be proud of it. Like there's so much work behind, getting there. So just be proud. Okay. A few seconds left, and we'll just kick off. Prefer with the camera or without the camera?
With the camera. I like seeing you.
So much miss those live in-person sessions. But we'll do our best to deliver this in a fun way. 4:30 or 9:30, depending on where you're or some other time depending on where you are. So time to go. So welcome everyone on this 365 Saturday session. It's the end of a very full day. 3 tracks going at the same time right now. Wow, you've all selected to come to this one. I'm really happy because what other sessions that were there and presenters like Lucas Diaz and Igor Shvets, like come on, and you're with my session. Thanks so much. So this session today is about AI Builder 2020 Wave 2, and let's get it. So a big thank you to our sponsors. They're behind the holding of this event, and they also help provide like some of the prizes I think that we get at the end after a survey. So Resco.net, MCRM Addons, and RSM. Thank you so much. So about me. Presenting this session, Eric Sauvé. I'm the Power Platform Practice Lead at XRM Vision, leading partner in the Power Platform and Dynamics world for Canada. I'm MVP, like Joe Griffin here, right? MVP, Business Apps, and also a certified trainer. And if you want to look me up in any or most of the social media, just look for Z Power Diver. You'll look me there. You'll find me there, and it's not Z Power Driver, it's Z Power Diver. So on the agenda today, first, want to make sure, maybe some people are joining in and they don't have an idea or they don't know much about AI Builder. So I want to make sure that you know about it, what it's about, just the good overview about it. And then we'll dive, hey, Z Power Diver, we'll dive into the Wave 2 feature. Mainly three areas: form processing, translation, and receipt scanning. And even though Trisha is there to moderate the questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me and say, Eric, please answer this awesome question I have, because all your questions are awesome. So about the Power Platform? Just an overview. You've seen this presentation over and over, maybe different tweaks in there, but you get the idea. The point is, the Power Platform is a set of tools that help many types of users, either they be business user or are so close to the issue they're facing, provide them with tools that they can resolve those issues. Either it be on the analytics side, where like a superstar like Joe Griffin, yeah, he's there, doing Power BI, building great Power Apps, doing flows with Power Automate, doing chatbots and interaction with Power Virtual Agent. All of this can be delivered through all kinds of areas within the Microsoft scope, Dynamics, through Teams, Microsoft 365. No, was it Office 365? No, it's Microsoft 365 now. Extended through Azure. Can surface this over your different apps and data and connect this to a lot of stuff. So blah, blah, blah. You've seen this and you heard about this. The thing is, for me, this is what the Power Platform is about. It's about empowerment, allowing a bunch of people who have not been used to, allow them to build solution, resolve their issues, and just get going. So that was like the Power Platform pitch. I love it. So to our main subject today, AI Builder. Yeah, Joe, you want that sweater? So AI Builder, what about it? For me, AI Builder, when you look about artificial intelligence and machine learning, because AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, which is like its little brother. Think about the fact that if you're an organization and you want to implement any AI or machine learning in for delivering, like solving some solutions, or maybe helping your organization position itself, in the competitive world, besides the other people, resolving, being proactive and doing stuff. If you want to do that, you'll need very specialized engineers. Look at this car. Look at this engine. You got 3 guys there and you see 2 on the sides. They're like specialized engineers. They know like the little bells, whistle, and how much torque to give this. And yes, it's a V8, and make all the fine adjustments in there. Very skilled people. I wouldn't go in and play with this engine. Yeah, I would press on the pedal and want to move forward, but I wouldn't go and play there. So it's the same thing with any kind of organization. If you don't have that set of people that can allow you to analyze the data, make sense of it, structure it, build intelligence around it, you won't be able to access AI. Well, we just talked about the Power Platform, those funny sweatshirt people all happy. Well, AI Builder is just a way of bringing that to the more, the broader amount of people. AI Builder is about changing processes, moving from old way of doing things to the new way of doing things. I was processing forms on paper. I'm processing them on a digital and automated format. It's about changing your processes. It's ways of automating stuff and making more intelligent decision. Intelligent decision? What about being proactive? Don't wait till the car breaks. Don't wait until the manufacturer fails. Don't wait until maybe like your customer is unhappy and leaves your company. Lower your customer churn. Be more proactive. Get some intelligence in your business. So that's another reason why you want to implement some of the AI Builder functionalities in there. So what is it about? Well, let's say there are 2 types of models in there. First one, custom models. And, referring to that engine where you had all those engineers in there. I'm pretty sure, maybe not all of you, but many of you may have been in a situation where you had to change a tire. You got a flat or maybe you live in Canada like me and you have to change tires 2 times a year for winter and summer. Well, to change a tire, I don't necessarily have to go to the garage station. I don't necessarily need an expert to that. Yeah, I'll get my hands dirty for sure if I don't wear gloves. But, you know, it's accessible. Once I get a little training, once, you know, maybe my dad or cousin or somebody around me showed me how to do that, you know, secure the car, lift it up, remove the wheel, put the other wheel on. Once I know the basics, I can do it. I'm no mechanics, but I can do it. That's what custom models are about. So what you'll need, so bring that to business, what you'll need is a good amount of historical data. So to make decisions, you need to know what happened in the past. Where was I successful as a company? When did we get customer satisfaction? How did we recognize that a wall was failing or a wall was in good condition? You know, you need historical data that will allow you to do what? Train a model. You need to train it. So you provide it historical data, you train it, the model learns from that historical data to make decisions going forward. Most of it is actually using data out of the Common Data Service, CDS for its little name. What about, you know, just hopping on a car, turning the key, and drive off? That's what pre-built models are about. You just use them. You don't need like to get your hands dirty. You just hop in, you use them. That's what pre-built models, and there's a different set of those. So difference here, we're working about components or actions, depending if they're in a Power Apps app or in a flow. They're all ready to use. Just use them. And instead of being based on your historical data, they're based on the industry or Microsoft intelligence. So that's where the actual historical data comes from. It's not from your company. It's based on what Microsoft has built, you know, for building, training that model. So what are they? So if you go in the Power Apps, and we'll go there, don't worry. There's 2 sets, and mainly like the big one, refine a model. What they mean here is train your model, create and train a model. So there are the different types here. So category classification, entity extraction. Those 2 are about, you know, working with text, looking into it, and making decisions about it. What is this message or what is this document talking about? And how can I take action upon it? For example, you know, this seems to be related to HR. I'll forward this to HR. Have information about the location of the customer. Oh, I'll use that information and be able to, you know, forward this to the right region within my organization. That's the kind of things I can do in there. Form processing, we'll look into it further. It's about that paper invoice, moving that into a data format that I can use and automate some of that processing. Object detection, taking an image and recognizing what's in it. I have a faulty wall, I have a good wall. I'm taking an inventory in a store, making sure they're compliant or things like that. Prediction, have I been good? Have I been bad? And how can I improve my next business? So, for example, I'm a retailer, I'm sending out goods to my customers. And in some areas, even though you know, I'm using like different freight forwarders or carriers, maybe in some areas it's always delivery is always arriving much later than expected. Because my customers are expecting to receive the goods, let's say, in 3 days. And they're receiving it 5 days, 7 days. Well, maybe what I should do is for those customers in those areas, and that's with the prediction, with the historical data, I kind of find this pattern, or the model finds this pattern actually. We will be able to make actions and maybe upsell or upgrade those shipping services for those customers in those areas with an express or accelerated service. That's the type of thing I could do. And then whole set of pre-built, you know, hop in, use them. There's a whole set of get straight to productivity. Those are the pre-built models. Business cards reader. Yeah, we used to meet people and actually need to scan those business cards, especially in North America. Well, eventually it might come back to that. And all those category classification, entity extraction, same as the one above, but you can you go and use them based on what Microsoft has built for basic information. Key phrase extraction in the same line. What is this talking about? Language detection. Do I need to say more? Receipt processing. We'll look into it later on. Sentiment analysis. Is the discussion or the text that I'm looking at in a positive feedback or a negative feedback or maybe neutral? And based on that, maybe I should take action. For example, I'm monitoring the tweet channel for my company. And I'm processing that through a flow, processing that through sentiment analysis. And based on the post that just got tweeted, I could say, well, this is a very positive feedback. I'll send this to marketing so they can promote this. Oh, this is fairly negative. Maybe I should send this to customer service so they can respond with an action, with some, you know, how to correct this. That's the type of thing I can do there. Text recognition, looking at something, looking at an image and doing like what we used to call OCR, you know, character recognition. And then text translation, it's one of those wave 2 items that we'll look into. Oh, to the actual main subject. Wave 2 features. First one is about the form processing. So form processing, historically, what we had is just a way of getting the form, let the system do the analysis, and find what is different from one form to the other, and then just select those tags and move on. But if there was another area in the form that it was not looking into, we were not able to tag this. And let me just show you what this is about. So I go in my AI Builder section. And what I'll do is I'll go in form processing and build this model. And I'll just provide it with a set of documents that I have in my system. So first thing, now that is different. If you have ever been in this, using this feature before, this step you didn't have. And this step is in preparation for the next release, because if I go back to this form processing, there are 2 features actually that are being rolled out for form processing. Explicit tags, which is now in GA, and we'll walk through it. I'll be able to demo it. And the next one is about multiple layouts. Today, if you want to process invoices or process purchase orders, for example, what you have to do with AI Builder form processing is you'll have to provide it with similar formatted invoices or documents, one to the other, to the other, to the other. So let's say I'm a company and I want to automate the invoices that I receive, maybe via email or any other mean, and I want to automate this. And I have 15 suppliers. Well, you know what? There's a high probability that I'll have to build 15 different models. Train 15 different models. And what I'll have to do is, based on who sending me the invoice, I'll have to process that invoice on that specific model that I've trained. And I'm just talking about 15 suppliers here. What about if I have hundreds and more? It's kind of difficult, right? So they are rolling out with another wave 2 portion, which is multiple layouts. The concept here would be I'm processing invoices. Either they be from supplier A, B, Z, either one, I'll be able to process all those invoices through one trained model. That's the goal. How would it perform? How would it go? We don't know. It's being rolled out in the coming weeks. From what I know, it's being rolled out because if we look at the target, it's stating October. It's never really necessarily always on the spot, but most of the time, it's fairly on it. So we're waiting for this to happen. So coming back to this step, this will allow you to define what am I expecting in an invoice? What's the data that I want to capture? So I could say, well, invoice number is one. Come on here. Invoice date could be another. From corp, like what company is it coming from? I could say maybe the total amount. And so on. I could have multiple fields and I could add them and so on about, what am I capturing within that invoice or these different invoices. And that should be pretty common from one invoice to the other. That's the point. I could say here, well, an invoice, I actually have invoice details. Okay. So this step right now, it's just like in preparation for that other changes that is coming. Okay. So I define those fields. Then I just go and add my documents, and here I'll just go and upload those forms. Okay, and these documents are really similar from one to the other, as you'll see, because right now, before that wave 2 is being GA for the multiple layouts, you have to work with similar documents. So I'm going to let the system do its analysis. What it's doing in the analysis is looking at what seems to be static or same from one to the other, and what is different from one to the other. And it's going to come back with suggestions about what those are. What areas are different from one to the other. So it takes a few minutes, but really, it should actually take a few seconds. Normally, by the time I'm done saying this, it should move on. Otherwise, any questions do I see in the chat? No, we're good. Good, here we are. So in the normal step, as it was before, this would come back with highlighted sections where the system was providing those tags. You know what I did in the previous step, saying an invoice number and so on? Well, now I have to actually go and say what they are, and it highlights areas. Like here, it highlights the invoice number. I could go here, say, well, this is the invoice number. Now, if you look here for the date, okay, it's actually highlighting just small sections of that date. Well, that's not what I want. And that's where the explicit tags area comes in, is I can go and select this whole area and say, well, you know what? This is the invoice date. And so on. And I could go, okay, this is the from company, same thing here. I could select here or with the whole address. I'll just pick up the name here. And we should have a total amount. And so on. And then I do this for every other. See, it already learned from the first model, first form that we processed. When I go to the next one, it already comes back highlighted with, okay, this one here is the invoice number, right? Well, the from, it's having issues because it's so close to the address. It's having a bit of issues, so I have to redefine this one. Date, we're good. What about the subtotal? No, not the subtotal, sorry. It's the total here, total amount. Then I move on. So invoice number, we're good. from corp, and then total amount. Move on. From this we have, and then total amount. Go. These total amount. What am I missing? Oh, invoice detail. So that's why I have that little red dot here for all. Actually, well, it said, okay, you have it for all. So then I do next, and I would go out and train my model. So it goes out, train the model. So it will process this, and next thing around, if I go to my model, is it's training. See, I'll go into another one that I have here, just so you know it's already trained. But what I would do from there is provide it with another sample. That's not the right model. It's for another one. Training. This one. Using this. No. Okay. Well, it's going to get there eventually. So, explicit tags. Selecting areas. Multiple layout. Coming down the road very soon about having different documents. And why do you want to stay away, or you want to implement such a thing as this is, for example, like I said, you have 15, 30, 50, 100 suppliers. You don't want to have one model per item, per type. So let's move on, and we can come back to the form processing after that, no problem. Next feature, translation. Like here, I cannot read all of them. I can read the first one, which is Je t'aime, which would be I love you. The point is being able to automatically do translation. And here we're talking about supporting 70 different languages. And if I open this, you'll see you can get there, and you can get the different type of languages that are supported. It's basically based on Azure, so all kinds of languages that can be supported to do translation. And you can use this in a flow. In Power Automate, there's an actual action that allows to take the one text. So it could be a document, it could be a tweet, could be an email, as long as you're within 5,120 characters. As long as you're within that range, you're good. So when what you'll get back is the actual translated text and detected language. So let's see how that works. Here we got our training. We'll come back to this one. So 2 ways to get to that. First one, I can go in my AI Builder section. I see text translation, and I can say use in the flow. What this does is simply come back to you with different templates that use this text translation and provide you with a base to work with. What I'll do now is let's create one together. I'll just go here, instant from blank, manually trigger. Let's say it's the translator. Let's create this. So I'll manually trigger the flow. I'll give it some text. So text to translate. And I'll let the user provide the input. Then I go where? I go choose an action. And this, by the way, the AI Builder section here. This is something that came out through the summer, and it's so much more easier to use than the old way around, because we used to have to go through common data service and use the predict action and then so on and so on. In this case, we have them all under AI Builder, and every action, like every different types of models, they have their own action. Much easier to use than the old predict action. Oh, I'll have to translate this one. Nice. Thanks so much, Larry. So the idea here is you just go directly to the one that you need. In our case here, it's translate text into another language. So we go here, put the text. We'll use the one that we received from the initial trigger, so text to translate. And what language do I want to translate this to? So English. And optionally, you could say translate from. So let's say you know what language locale that it's coming from. You can force it to use that language base, or just let it detect automatically. And then what we'll do is we'll use a compose action and say translated, let's say original text. That would be the text to translate, and translated text. Which would be here, and let's say between detected language. So what was the primary language that we detected there? Okay, let's just save this, and let's hope Larry didn't put something funny in there that we shouldn't be recording, but let's test it out. Let's be wild and test it right away. So I'll test this out and see if it detects the right language and if it's able to translate it properly. Yeah. Let's see. Done. So it's going through the process, sending out the action here. So if we go into compose, what did we get? Please translate this text. And LT, I'm not sure what it represents, but probably if we have it in the, I don't know if it's still open, but Lithuanian, okay. Thanks, Larry. And now let's give another one a try. Let's do something for. She's actually managing another, moderating another session, but let's do one for Dion. So let's say do what a great. Oh, actually, I wanted to change this. Let's change this to Dutch. I could provide it with something else in here. Save and test. So I could go from one way or the other. Like, so let's say it's a text that I have from my company that's producing stuff in English, and I could go out and say that, you know what, I'm able to respond or reply to someone in Dutch, for example. So wat willigly sessie, whatever. That's what it is. Yeah, I'm sure Tricia that Jamaican patois or even like other areas, like it's not to that level. It's probably not part of the 70 supported languages, but you know, maybe it's going to get there someday. But that's what it's about. So that's about translation. Thanks, guys. So, next one, receipt scanning. I hope you'll, if ever you want to do a scan of a receipt, you use a better version than this image. So that one is in public preview. Should be GA, general availability, next spring, normally. Big caveat is right now it's only working for US English receipts. It's doing the good job, but only on US English receipts. I'm sure, Cheryl, yeah, mine too. They're all pretty much like that. So it works with JPEG, PNG, PDF, maximum 20 megabytes. And we can use it in both Canvas apps and in Power Automate flows. So let's go and build an app. So text receipt processing. I can go from here and say using an app. Pretty straightforward. It's going to open it up. And it's going to bring me directly with an app that contains the component, the AI Builder component in there for receipt scanning. And that's one way to do it. So it's a bit like the flow that we added in the previous step, that you can use a template. So here it's bringing an app with a template, but actually not a template, but just having the component there already built here. Okay. But I could easily, if I remove this, I can easily just in any other app. So let's say I have an existing app and I want to add the AI Builder component. I just go and insert AI Builder receipt processor. That's it. Just add it. Boom. Okay. So let's just play with it. Scan a receipt. See what you get back. So lab images, receipts. So it's going to scan, do OCR, like recognize the text, and it's going to highlight the main areas. So the provider name, the address, the phone number, date, time, what you've bought, the pricing and everything. So here it's just highlighted. So yeah, okay, not so useful, you know, highlighted, but I need data. So how do you use it? Very, very easy to use. I'll just go with labels because it's just an easier way to demonstrate it. I'll just use with label, and I refer this control. So receipt processor. And then just straight like this, merchant address, or maybe merchant name first. Merchant name. Merchant address. What else do we have? Phone number here. Okay, we could have the date and so on, and then I can have the. So you get the idea. I can include a gallery. That would do what? Let's just lower this here. Change it just to title, and change the source to be our receipt processor. Purchased items. Boom. And actually, let's change it to title and subtitle. And subtitle, let's say this is, oops, this is the name. Okay, it doesn't have the price. Should have found it. Total price, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. So it would have price if it had like a description, price, and then the extended price would be the total price. So here I'm able to have the full results of this receipt and, keep going there. So I'm able to automate the process of taking a picture of receipt and actually interpreting the data within it, and maybe push this into a expense report. So I kind of like it, because this is an example of, because I'm using this receipt, but I could be using something that is different style, and it will do the recognition on that one too. So it's different. Yeah. So it's picking the data here. So a bit like, the form processing where I said I don't need to train, I won't have to train different models for different suppliers. Here, it is different about different suppliers. And I'm able to just use that receipt scanner, and boom, it's able to adapt itself and scan them out. Another example here. Let's see if it works well. Different type of format. It's processing it. Lots of data here, and it did pick them up. But you see, the image being a bit too blurry, it did not pick up the title. So that's why in anything that you do, either it be for, you see here, it picked up kilograms instead of the actual price. So that's why in any type of application where you do OCR type of operation, so form processing, this is another example. Please have a step where you do a validation. So here you let the user, so I'm the user, I'm the sales rep or whoever. I'm taking a picture of, or an employee, I'm taking the picture of that receipt. Allow that user to review what has been looked, by the analyzed and the results, and allow them to modify this. It's very, very important. And that's why you might want to look into an example, which is, this one. Invoice processing automation. That's an example, okay, of I have different set of models for different suppliers. So here it's having different providers. So I've set up a model, the other parts warehouse that we looked into here, that you saw here. That's a model. FP demo auto parts. So sorry, if we go back to this application, if I go to this provider, a provider is what is a supplier. Okay, so for this provider, I had to go and select the actual trained AI builder model that would be used. So right now it's that model that it's going to be used if ever I'm receiving an email from this supplier, and what are the different mappings within that invoice. So that within that form processing, how am I putting that, pushing that into my CDS database? So invoices, let's say I'm sending, just so you understand the concept here, inbox. So I go in my inbox, and what I'll just do quickly is send myself an invoice. It's not here, but you'll get the idea here. I'm just sending myself an invoice. Okay, so what's happening here is this invoice will be picked up by a flow, which is this one here. So this flow is looking at my inbox if there are attachments, and I could make rules to to make sure that it actually has the have like maybe like some tag word in there. It's gonna kick off because the email just got in here. Oh, I didn't pay whiskey to the demo gods, or was it vodka or tequila? I don't know what was the drink of the day. So of course it's going to take longer than expected. Okay, so it's processing that email, and based on who it's from, it's going to be updating this list. So here I have the invoice. It's in process, so it's being captured, and it's being processed through the AI builder model, analyzed, looked at the form, get the data, and pushed into my CDS. But at this stage, what I wanted you to get the idea is it's in a step where it's not validated. So let's just look at the other process. So this one is done. Now, after that, it's the one that processes the invoice itself. 26. Okay, so it's done. I go back here, refresh. So it's been processed. I have my invoice here. So as an employee, like, so the person that actually manages those invoices, I can come here and look at the data, you know, look at the invoice and see, did it actually pick up the right information? Okay, so based on the model that I've built, it processed it, but I do have in my process, in my business process, I do have a step of validation, because here, oh, bill to name, I don't want a to here. Maybe I want to look up an actual customer or something like that. Maybe the amount wasn't 58.90, maybe it was 91 or something. So I can do the editing and then just validate that invoice. So do you know if it is able to register line information on forms? So yes, what's happening is on the yeah, this one. So in the data that I'm looking into here, so let's go back one step, form processing, test, process this. There was a section which was a table. When we trained the model, Julia, there was a section that is called a table. And in here, you see here, it picked up this. So I have invoice detail, item, quantity, rate, and amount. It's the actual table. So if we have time, what we can do very quickly, let's just go back to my app here, close this, just do a new screen, blank, boom. And then AI Builder, do a form processor, just so you really get it. So I'm using that invoice processing. No problem. It's good to be excited about something like this. It's okay. So let's analyze that same document that I have. Open this. So it's going to process the same way I did with the quick test. It went out, and it's processing that through the model that I trained. So it's providing me with the results, and I even get, if I looked into it, I even get like different confidence score about each of them. So I have the items and stuff. So normally, if I create a gallery here, boom, 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 and let's just lower this here. Let's just set it to title and subtitle, and change the source to B. Form processing, form processor dot results, if I remember correctly, or was it? Is it the actual data that I put the name? Yeah, I don't think it's tables. Yeah, table 1. Exactly. Yeah. So normally here, if I go this section, I should be able to. There's a description and ID price. So maybe it didn't like that one so much. So let's just pick another one. Let's see if it behaves better with this other one that I'm giving it. But yeah, the problem is right now, well, okay, it's not. But really the thing is, Julia, the table, if we go back to the actual training of this model, so just quickly, boom, 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 let's say this one here. Build, sorry. Let's just do this here. So in the field definition, so NB number, and then table, which was invoice details. What right now is not so fun or so good about this one is you will not be able to define the schema of that detail that it will recognize. So what I mean by this is, you know, like for the high level, I'm able to set the different fields. So I'm saying like it's an invoice number, it's an invoice date, it's you know, the total amount and so on. But for the table sections, because you could have multiple table sections, you don't have the options of naming those as you want. From what I know, it's just picking it up and you'll get based on the labels that it sees on top, and that's it. Because when you do the selection, you're just saying that this is the table section. It's you're not saying, well, this is within the table section, this is the description, this is the quantity, this is the price, and so on. So here we have the item, quantity, rate, amount. And if we go in the definition, when it's going to be done with loading the fields, tequila. So you see here, I say it's invoice details. And when you look here, the table, the information here, you get table 0 here. Well, the first one is item, the second one is quantity, the other one is rate, the other one is amount. But I have no way of renaming those. It just picked them up based on the title here. But let's say I want to name this not quantity, but maybe item quantity or something. Too bad. Okay. But yes, it picks it up. All right. So we covered the 3 main areas of the Wave 2. Form processing, having the explicit tags, being able to select the items, and really waiting about those multiple layouts. Translation, very easy to integrate in a flow. And the receipt scanning, that component that you can either include in a Canvas app or use it in a Power Automate action. So the same thing that we did in the app. So get an image, process it, and get manage with the results. You could do it in a flow. Okay, so I push the image, it may be in a SharePoint, OneDrive for business, or something else, some other area, or maybe to a file type in CDS. So I push this image as an employee. The system could analyze it and take the data, put it as structured data. That's what we have in the Wave 2. I really recommend you go out, and this presentation, by the way, is available on my GitHub. Just go out, look ZPowerDiver on GitHub. There are session decks. This whole PowerPoint is there. This session is being recorded, right? Oh, somebody started the recording. Yes. Okay. Tricia, you did a good job. So you can either listen back to this recording or go look at the session decks in there. Just go on this session, this GitHub site, and you'll see in here, boom, you get the full presentation. So you can refer back and go back at it and look at the actual links that I've provided here. You can select them. You might want to look at the calculator. That's a very useful area that you want to look into. if you want to know how much it's going to cost based on the different scenarios that you want to use, and the news and so on. Any questions? Or we've covered them all? I guess we're good.
I think we're good.
I wanted to make sure you had the time to calm down, question, or just move on to the party afterwards. But for that, you need to fill out that survey about this session and all the other sessions, because what? There are prizes to win. But to win those prizes, you have to fill in the survey. And most of all, you have to be there when they draw the prizes.
This is true. So we're gonna actually go to the next, the finale in 7 minutes, where we're then going to see who actually posted the most, and the top 2 will win a $50 Amazon gift card. And then, if you completed your surveys and you've been completing them, well done. We're gonna basically spin a wheel, like Wheel of Fortune, and your name will be on it the amount of times that you completed your survey, which basically means that you have, the more you completed, the more likely you are to be in a shot of winning. You got to be in it to win it. Yay! So that's gonna happen in 6 minutes. Yeah, so that's gonna happen in 6 minutes, and then yeah, then we can all go and have tequila with Julia. Yay.
Yay!
Yay.
Tequila!
Okay, so do
Thanks,
we
everyone.
have the link to the finale session? If you give me 1 second, if you don't, I will get that for you.
Yeah.
And I'll put it in the chat. Eric, thank you so much. I forgot to thank you. Thank you so much. That was really, really great. Like, I love your presentation voice. It's just so soothing.
Well, here you go. I'm pasting it now. That's
Thank
the link.
you. That's the link.
Larry put it there also.
Thanks,
Larry.
Awesome. You guys are on it. Like on it like a carbonate. Okay, awesome.
See
But
you there.
And I didn't know that about the cost estimate, so I have actually learned stuff. So that's amazing. And like I know everybody else learned as well. So I love it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. I will see you in the closing meeting like in 5 minutes. Everyone, let's jump on that meeting right now. And thank you all for coming and being a part of today. If I don't say thank you so much, like you've all been amazing. And thank you, Eric, and all the speakers for speaking today.
Super.